taught you about SDLC phases and one model, that is classical waterfall model. In this video we will do the remaining models. So the second model is iterative waterfall model. As I have already said that classical waterfall model is very hard to use in a real time scenario. So iterative waterfall model can be thought of as a incorporating the necessary changes to the classical waterfall model to make it usable in practical software development projects. It is also same as the classical waterfall model, except some changes are made to increase the efficiency of the software development. The main changes which is there is the it provides feedback paths from every phase to its preceding phases, which is the main difference from the classical waterfall model. But as you can see in the diagram, the phases used in the classical waterfall model is same as that of iterative waterfall model also. So we already know these phases. Here what we will see is how how these phases are used by iterative waterfall model. So here as you can see, a feasible study, requirement analysis, design, coding, integration, maintenance, the phases are same, but here you have a feedback path to each phases. So but feedback path is there, but it doesn't mean that after doing designing of a software, you can show that to a customer and customer can give you a feedback. That is not correct. Here in iterative waterfall model, what we have to do is, first we have to go through all the phases shown here till maintenance. So in the maintenance phase, what we can do in maintenance phase, that means the product is already delivered to the customer. So in maintenance phase, the customer can give the feedback, and according to the feedback we can go to the different phases. Like we can go to the design phase, or we can go directly to the coding phase, or if coding is also not required, we can directly go to the integrated phase. But but here at first development process, we have to go through all the phases. After a full final software is delivered to the customer, at the maintenance phase, we can go back to the previous phases according to the feedback given to the by the customer. So what is the advantages of iterative waterfall model? That there we have a feedback path and it is very simple. So what are the drawbacks of iterative waterfall model? First, it is very difficult to incorporate change request. Yes, as it was also a drawback of iterative waterfall model. That means after a final software development, only then we can change the request, only then we can incorporate the changes. But in the first development process, until and unless the final software is not completed, then at that time we cannot incorporate the changes specified by the customer in between the development process. Second is incremental delivery is not supported. That means incremental delivery, suppose designing, after doing the designing, we cannot show the designing part to the customer, or after doing the designing and the coding part, we cannot show that designing and the coding part to the customer. Okay, so third is overlapping of phases is not supported, as it was also the drawback of waterfall model. The same drawback is of the iterative waterfall model, because at first while developing the software, first we have to complete all the phases and then we have to deliver the final software to the customer. Then only we can go to the different phase, but during the development process itself, the phases cannot be overlapped. Here risk handling is not supported. Okay, if any uncertainty occurs or any interruption occurs, that is not supported in this model. The last one is limited customer interaction. Why it is limited customer interaction? Because with the customer we only interact at the first phase of the model, in the requirement analysis and gathering, requirement gathering and analysis phase. At that time only we interact with the customer to gather the all the requirement from the customer. After that phase we cannot interact with the customer. So this is your iterative waterfall model. So next is prototyping model. As the name suggests, here in this model we will develop a prototype of a software. And this prototyping model, in this mode multiple iterations occurs. That means some phases are executed repeatedly. So after requirement gathering phase, when we go to the next phase, we need to show this to the customer for evaluating the product. As you can see, all the phases are similar to the waterfall model, but here you can see a loop is there in the quick design part. So that means in this part what we will do is we will make a quick design, and that design is shown to the customer. So if the customer accepts all the designs, then only we can move forward to the development, that is coding, testing and maintenance. But if the customer does not accept that design, the prototyped design, again the this process has to be updated again, redesigning is required, and then again the prototype is shown to the customer. And this task goes on in a iterative way until and unless the customer is satisfied. After each iteration, when customer is satisfied, then only we can move forward like waterfall model. Now in here the phases, you can see it is divided into two segments, that is prototype development and second is iterative development. As I earlier said that in prototype development segment, what the developer do is they develop a prototype, they show it to the customer accepts or rejects the design, and if the then when the customer accepts the design, then it goes to the iterative development. Now let's see the advantages and disadvantages. Here are many advantages and disadvantages which I have jotted down, but let's go to the main advantage of prototyping model. Now here in this model, the customer can see a steady progress of our software. As steady progress means, as you know, the customer is given a prototype, and that prototype is evaluated by the customer, and the customer will accept or reject that. So and this is useful when the requirements are changing rapidly, because after the first prototype is delivered to the customer can change, or the customer will know that the customer will be needing new features. So when the requirement are changing rapidly, this model is useful. So what are the disadvantages? Main disadvantage that it is possible to know how long it will take. That means how long the development process will take. That means we will not know when the customer will be satisfied, because until and unless the customer is not satisfied, we cannot move forward to the development process. And the number of iteration, the loop which we had seen in the diagram, that number of iteration is also unknown, because we will not know when the customer will be satisfied. So this is your prototyping model. Now next model is evolutionary model. Evolutionary model is also referred to as a successive version models, and sometimes also referred as incremental model. In evolutionary model, the software requirement is first broken down into several modules or functional units that can be incrementally constructed and delivered to the customer. The development first develops the core modules of the system. As you can see in the diagram, the core module of the system is A. So the developer will first develop A. The core modules are those that do not need services from the other modules. The initial product, a skeleton, is refined into increasing levels of capability by adding new functionalities in successive version. In the diagram you can see, first the core feature A is developed, and then second B is developed. In A, the feature of B is added, and then it will be delivered to the customer. Again, the A is already developed, B is developed, and then the developer will develop C. Now in A and B, which was already developed, the C features, the name C features will also be added, and then that will be delivered to the customer. Now this is the phases, different phases of evolutionary model phases. It is similar as iterative model. In this model we implement one requirement of a customer in one life cycle, but is different from iterative in a way that in iterative model we use one life cycle to implement all the requirement stated at first by the customer, but in evolutionary model one life cycle is used to implement only one requirement or feature stated by the customer, and by passing a different life cycle for different feature, different release of or different units or different version of a software is developed. The phases of evolutionary model is also same as classical waterfall model, but the phases are used in cyclic manner. That means the phases are used again and again in a iterative manner. This model is also known as incremental model, because here each module is created and delivered to customer, so multiple modules is delivered to customer before the final delivery of the product. So these are the applications, these are the advantages of evolutionary model. The main advantage of evolutionary model is that it can be used for large projects. Evolutionary model is normally useful for very large projects. User gets a chance to experiment with the partially developed software, because final software which is to be created is divided into smaller modules, and then it is delivered to a customer. Evolutionary model helps to accurately elicit user requirement. That is, it helps to accurately satisfy the user requirements during the delivery of the different versions of software. The evolutionary model avoids the need to commit large resources in one go for development of the system. As the modules are break into pieces, a large number of resources is not used in evolutionary model. Now what is the disadvantage of evolutionary model? The disadvantage of evolutionary model is it is very difficult to divide the problem it is very difficult to divide the problem into several versions, because which features is the core feature, that is feature A, which feature to apply, that is core that is feature B, then that segregation, that priority is very difficult. Prioritization is very difficult to divide. These are the resources which I have used to create my presentation. You all can check this website. For RAD and spiral model, you can view my video, part 5 unit 1 video.